Welcome, leadership. Yay! It's Friday.
Yes.
All right, guys, we have a lot of business to take care of today, but I know Miss Robinson, she was chosen by the wheel last week, and she's going to do our warm-up. And so let's get started, and I'm going to turn it right over her.
All righty, our warm up, we're going to take about 1 minute. Peruse on the table, there are some quotes. Find one. If I have many sheets, if you're not, cannot find the one that resonates with you, find a quote, and I give you about a minute or two, and when you get your quote, you're going to read your quote, and then you're going to let us know why you chose it, and how does that quote resonate with you.
And Miss Robinson, I see you have these little gadgets.
And these gadgets right here are basically, when we get to our quotes, it lets us know that we all have our differences. And the reason why we're choosing these quotes because of a leadership, and we all have differences, but together and we work. And it's a fidget, it's a calmness toy. It reminds me of, for me, it reminds me of a student when I'm at a point and instead of coming down and I want to relate, I do this SEL. It calms me. So I wanted to basically resonate, even when I went to my innovative training, and it basically says, put something on your desk to remind you of who we work with. And every time we get to a point, look at something and it centers you. So this helps center me when knowing our population that we work with. So I can't always be this way. Sometimes I can have to be this way. And sometimes I have to be this way where it opens up. And guess what? It don't go this way. So I have to know how to be flexible to go this way. So it just gives me that resignation. Now, that was almost a quote. I should put my name next to it. So when you're ready,
We're going to read these quotes and then pick one that resonates.
Yes.
I found one already.
Okay.
All
I
right.
got one.
I
Miss
got
Weber?
I can start.
Okay.
All right. So this quote is by Oprah Winfrey, and it says, "Only surround yourself with people who will lift you higher." So, in previous years, we've had trouble doing that type of thing at my old school. So being here with you guys and the other staff members has really been able to lift me up so that I can do better. And let's see, what else? I have health problems and concerns. So you guys help in the fact where I don't have to think about those all the time too. I'm able to ignore that so that I can actually get to that level.
I'll go next. The best time to punish is not when we're at our maddest, but that's usually when we do it. And this one is by Nancy Samalin. And it just reminds me of a conversation I was having with one of the teachers a couple days back. And she was upset with one of her support staff members. And she was going to make a decision that I reminded her that it probably would have been better for her to calm down and then make a decision that was related to what the incident was. And I helped her to be able to see, because sometimes we do want to make those rash decisions when we're upset, but it doesn't necessarily, your consequence should fit the punishment should fit the crime, so to speak, but it shouldn't even be a punishment. It should just be a consequence or an outcome. So just thinking about it along those lines. So just remember not to make decisions when we're angry, because we can be irrational. Whereas we take a minute, breathe, and think about it, and then make a decision that's related to what happened.
Okay, I'm gonna go on. Mine says, "No act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted." And I picked that one because sometimes we do things, and like even small things like a thank you note or a compliment, and we don't know the effect that it's gonna have in the other person. So being kind is always the best answer.
That actually reminds me, I had two fifth grade kids yesterday when we were doing the Maryland survey, two of them were finished before the other ones, so they wrote me little notes. Miss Weber, you rock, and I love you, you're great. So I sat there and like taped them up on my computers and everything, because it makes you feel good.
And even
And it
the
uplifts you.
smallest thing,
Yep.
you don't know the impact it will have into the other person.
Yep, I like that one.
Well, I picked, no matter how gifted we are, none of us are a gift to others if we're wrapped up in ourselves. And I like that because, you know, we can have lots of talents and skills, but the real value isn't necessarily how the talent in and of itself. The value to the talent is how it strengthens others.
I choose the community, and it says the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others.
Oh,
And that also piggybacks at my training
that's right.
away, that we are all, our profession is to serve,
Yep.
is to be of service to others. We cannot be not mine, not, we have to serve. That's our students, our staff, we have to support them. We have to be of a service to, and that's basically how that resonates. And when you're all caught up, just go help somebody and be of service.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
you'll find- you will find-
I agree, Ms. Robinson, because there were two quotes that resonated with me. One was, talent wins games, but teamwork and intelligence win championships. And so, you know, as I sit here as a leader, I know I can't do it myself. And that's why I have, you know, a phenomenal leadership team that employs the teachers. So, you know, that's how I relate that by Michael Jordan, from basketball to education. But the other one was, education should be the process of helping everyone to discover his or her uniqueness. To teach him or her how to develop that uniqueness, and then to show him or her how to share it, because that's the only reason for having anything. And so I think that one truly resonated me as a leader, because I think that's our job, to help individuals develop their uniqueness, identify their strengths, identify their weaknesses, but build upon them. So, thank you, Ms.
Thank you,
Robinson,
Ms.
for our
Robinson.
warm-up activity
That was
and
good.
all our
That was
quotes.
good.
Thank you, thank you.
Absolutely.
All feel empowered, that was
Yes.
empowering. Thank you for
Yes,
sharing.
very good. So we have the agenda set up on the board.
Mhm.
And so we do have several members absent today, but we're moving forward. I want to briefly review the Dibbles data. And so when I looked at the Dibbles data with Ms. Robinson and Ms. Weber, and we've been looking at this since we've done our data cafe. But I had the opportunity to meet with a specialist at my principal's meeting. And even though I could break it down even further, I want you to hear some of the data that I captured. So, diving right in, as we think about uniqueness and where our supports are needed, we have 50% of our students performing at grade level or above grade level in kindergarten. 46% of our students at first grade performing at or above grade level. 51% performing at or above grade level at second grade. Third grade, we have 37% performing at or above grade level.
That's a really low number.
Yeah.
And so So
Well,
I
but
can go
that's a
into further
discrepancy.
details, but what are your thoughts? Where do we need to focus?
Well, we need to focus on third grade, for sure, for certain. But that's a huge deficit coming from those grades that are working at about half of the students in that grade level are performing at, on grade level or above. And then we have that huge gap
A
from
discrepancy.
a discrepancy from 50 to 37. So I think we need to think about what's happening between those grade levels that is creating that huge cavity.
And there always has been in the curriculum a big, huge jump from second to third as well. Like it's for years, it's always had
So
that harder jump.
historically, there's been a gap.
And
So,
also,
I was
we
gonna say,
have
Ms. Figueroa-
23 ELD students, and it would be interesting to see in where exactly they are
Mhm.
in order for us to make, rationalize,
comparison,
yeah,
no real-
because
Okay.
we can also see we have a lot of new students in third grade and students that only been in the US for 1-2 years. So I could probably get the data to see if that's variable of
And Ms. Chamberlain and Dr. Porter, can you share about how many, because that is inclusive of our
Our
autism
Right.
and resource needs, so.
So
Third
we're
grade,
talking about 70 total students, and then we have about 9 of our students with autism who represent that third grade population. And then for
we have
resource,
seven, well, no, we have 8, but one just came, so they wouldn't be part of the data.
so we're working about
this week.
16.
And I
Yeah,
have
students.
23.
And you have 23.
23.
So
Okay.
16 of the
16
third
and
grade population in our special ed resource or autism
Mhm.
performing on or above grade level, we don't, or below grade level, we don't know where they perform. And you said 23, Ms. Figueroa.
23.
And there's 3, in resource side, there's 3 overlaps between the 2 of our groups.
Oh, yeah, there's one.
There's
There's
3 overlaps.
Mhm.
So
So
they're
they're also-
ELLs and resource
And,
students.
yeah.
Do you, and I think there's,
It's at work, no, he's second grade. We're trying to take somebody. I don't think I have any.
No,
Not in third
not
grade.
in third grade.
No.
Autism program. But in the Janet classroom I have, there are like 3, right?
there's 3.
That are dually identified,
Mhm.
ELD and SPED.
So that's 39 students in that population. We have raw data.
I'm
Do we
looking
know
at
the
it, I
numbers?
just
Ms.
pulled it
Robinson's
up.
Right.
looking at
Okay.
it.
And
But-
just looking at that population,
Uh-huh.
it is from our autism classes. And with one is one of our new teachers. And that's new to our country, new to the profession, new to how
Curriculum and-
curriculum. So I can say maybe that could be a deficit of a support for that teacher
Well,
as
so
well.
remember, both of our third grade teachers in autism are new teachers.
And we
First
also
year.
have first
And we
year
Yeah,
have
teachers.
two
first year
teachers that are
teachers.
new, Miss.
But
One
5
in the
out of
temp
6
and one
of
in
the third grade
building.
teachers are brand new.
Are brand new.
But,
Oh,
and they're
okay.
conditional, are both,
And they're all
And
and they're
And
both
they're all
conditional. So
conditional.
both of the third grade teachers are conditional and first year teachers for autism.
And so when we look at the data and you hear the data, and I appreciate your, your feedback, we have to overcome those obstacles. So if each one of us as a leadership team member, myself included, what is one thing that we could do to help make an impact, to help improve the instruction? Whether it is for myself, make sure that I visit each and one of those third grade classrooms just to show my presence. Not to do an informal walkthrough, it's to do a formal observation, but just to be there. Because sometimes presence can make a difference. But is there one thing, and I'm gonna give you a moment of quiet time to think about what, and it doesn't have to be so cumbersome, but what is one thing that you might be able to do at least once or twice a week that we can have an impact on the teachers that would influence the student performance.
Okay.
Okay, so take a moment to think about it.
I think I can provide like planning support, like to integrate some of the ELD strategies into the planning, or at least, for example, for social studies and science, they're already there, but like to show her where to get them. This is for your ELLs, I mean, your multilingual learners. This is what we have embedded in the curriculum. Because we have those,
So would you plan with
tools.
all of the third grade, or are you gonna target one specific teacher that would have an impact and would be time efficient for you?
Well, is there a
Because-
class that has more of your ELD
Correct.
students
They all have,
in it? So, which one has the higher numbers, do we know?
Yes, Ms. Archivo.
no, Miss Hawkins has most of them. But, well, they're kind of spread evenly
Okay.
through all the third grade, but I can even get like
Create one time frame,
create one time
invite
frame,
them.
invite them, yeah, that would be better. Since I can talk to all of them at the same time.
So you could do that between 2 and 2:30 during
Okay.
contractual times, and then just pick a day of the week. It could be once a week or every other week,
Or doing their team planning.
or during their team
Oh,
planning.
team planning would be
That
good.
may actually work really
Better, yeah, team planning.
And it doesn't have to be intense, because I know, Ms. Figueroa, you've shared these strategies.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you don't learn the first time. Research says it takes 1 to 25 times to repeat a pattern for it to become
automatic.
automatic. And we just might not be there with our teachers. So I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
Ms. Chamberlain, what do you think you could do to help?
Well, I
Because,
was just thinking that, you know, I'm in the cafeteria for breakfast duty, and then the cafeteria is empty in that great big old space that we have down there until 10. And if we can do on WOW Wednesdays and maybe even another day of the week, run small groups, because I know some of those new teachers have been having trouble, organizing their small groups, getting them running all the time and keeping it going. So if we just pool some small groups, they could include my students, but they could just include other students who are really struggling as well. Doing a couple small groups, maybe other people can join me in there, because it's a big room, lots of tables.
I think that's a good idea, and can you also target a specific group of students?
The
Because
ones
we
at
know
risk.
that we have
The ones
some
at risk.
at risk or on the cusp.
On the
Can we go ahead and just kind of itemize and then look at who those students are and see if we can strategically pull the groups?
Well, I'm looking to see which kids might work better together with each other in small groups.
Right.
Right?
And they
'Cause
don't
some of them have like their little friend group and it might do those. So they'd probably be easier to pull together because then they're gonna wanna be more active and collaborative with friends.
And we don't have, and we don't have to just focus on one class,
No,
Correct.
because we have that big
Or-
space.
So
Right.
I will generate you the list, because I generated it for Ms. Porterfield when we first did the data of our students from the data who are at risk and who are the red band and yellow band.
Do you have that for
Yes,
ELD students?
yes,
too?
I have, I
Okay.
have the composite of all the students.
And you can put a filter for sped too.
They are included. Remember I gave you that number and I
Right.
included your baby?
Right.
That list. I will share
That's
that
right.
list.
That's right.
uh-oh, we calling each other
That's
out.
right, call me out, that's right. Thank you, ma'am.
I'm going to, provide that list to you as well.
So we can
And
put
that way, those are the
I would
students.
like that list.
Right,
So
we
let's
will.
share it with,
Yes,
let's
and
share
I
it
will
with
share
everybody,
with you,
because
yes.
like I said, it's a big
Right.
room. We could have a
Mhm.
couple people popping in
Right.
With different
with
sections.
different, with
Yeah.
different
During
groups.
that morning
Right.
time.
And
So maybe since it's WOW Wednesday, we know that's a group day anyway.
Mhm.
If we have people who can come in on Wednesday, but then maybe another day of the week,
Yes.
I know that Miss-
Tuesdays.
I know that Miss Williams uses the space for art for a little bit, but like I said, it's a big room.
Right, but
Yeah.
she usually uses it in the afternoon, not in the morning, right?
No, she
Sometimes
uses
she
for,
uses it for
she
fourth
uses
grade.
it for fourth grade because it's
Okay.
easier than going out into the temp
Okay,
with the kids who push in. Cause then it becomes a big group and there's
okay,
not a lot of space
Correct.
in those temps.
But
okay.
depending on what day that is, she also may be able to move into the library, depending on
Right.
what the librarian is
True.
or not.
True, but like I said, it's a big room.
Yeah,
So
And she
our
has to
plan
have
would
Now,
be-
they have
focus,
headphones.
so they do.
So this would be on the headphones unless she's pulling some.
Right, or we can choose one side of the cafeteria and allow her the other side. So we wanna focus on at least 2 days
2 days.
I think 2 days.
with
that can be
target
Yeah.
kids.
So
You
Wednesdays,
can pull
and what
your
would
kids
be
in
the
there,
other
too.
day?
You know, maybe Miss Plumley might be interested in pulling some groups in there.
Right.
I know it's
Right,
mornings.
right,
right.
For my Yogi.
Mhm.
Wednesday,
So
and
they
this is in the
rotate.
morning, so we wanna say, cause remember, you would get yours and they would have their breakfast, so they like go check in and then they come
Yeah,
back.
but then they can go back. They can actually go and eat their breakfast, and as soon as they're done with breakfast, they can come back to the cafeteria.
So you
So
wanna
for some of
say
those
from
kids-
8?
And some
Right.
kids I know go get they sign out their computer and they come back and then get their breakfast, so they're just there the whole time.
Right, that's what I was gonna say. We could have them bring as soon as they're done, they can bring their computer, they can start their Lexia while we're waiting to get started with,
Right.
with the, you know, so if
Yeah.
somebody,
Ready.
if somebody doesn't eat
Mhm.
breakfast, they can just go to the classroom, check in, get their computer, come and start their Lexia while we wait for the rest of their group for that first group in the morning. And then the second, when the first group finishes, we can send them to the class and another group can come to us. So like maybe we do from 8 to 8:30, one group from 8:30 to 9, a second group. Or from 8 to 8:15, whatever we wanna do, however much time we want, but we can get 2 groups in easily in that
Yeah,
morning.
before, and it's
Well,
the
she said
morning
2
time.
days,
Yeah, 2
Wednesdays, and what would
Wednesday,
be another day?
Do you
Maybe
wanna do Fridays?
Fridays.
Fridays.
I mean, because I don't think Monday is a sufficient day.
Well,
It's
Monday
hard.
we have IEP meetings too.
Monday and Tuesday we have IEP meetings, and then
Right.
Thursday, would just be back to back.
Back,
So
right.
if we
So
just
Friday's
went
good.
Wednesday and Fridays.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Wednesdays and Fridays,
And
and
we
you
talk
wanna
about
do
8 AM to
So let's say 7:40,
7:40, I like
because
that.
that's after announcements.
Yeah.
Gives them time to get breakfast, even if they're still coming in a little late, they can still get breakfast. 7:40 AM to 8:20, that's a 40-minute period.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Alright, and then group 2.
You know what? We do 7:45 because
Sure.
that line is long.
Oh,
It's
you know what,
7:40.
you're
Okay.
right.
That
Okay,
line is long and
so
loud.
let's do 7:45 to 8:25.
Right, usually by 7:45, we're down to the last 20 kids in line and it's much quieter in there.
Okay, and then are we trying to have a second group on the same days, or we just want one large group where we have different pods and sections?
I like the one large.
Well, I
Well,
think it's
as
gonna
long
depend
as
on
I-
our data, right?
Right.
How
So
many
let's start
kids
with
that we're
one
dealing
focus
with.
group for 2 days,
Right.
Wednesdays and Fridays.
Okay.
And then like Ms. Chamberlain could be in there to support for special education, Dr. Ford, Ms. Figueroa, Ms. Robinson, and I'll speak for team members who aren't here. Ms. Plumley, I'll put them in there, Ms. Washington.
She can be volunteer.
Right, well, we're
She'll
volunteering
happily
people.
do it.
But I think it's a good process because, you know, when we look at this data, and the data hasn't changed for the entire year, even if you went back and looked at our stat day data, 3rd grade has been a concern.
Right.
So we have to put a little more oomph in it for them as we prepare for, MCAT.
We should probably come together as a group and looking at the data and who the kids are and specifically and put together our groups and see who's gonna be doing what. And then we should probably include the classroom teachers in the discussion.
That's
because
exactly where I was going.
Then how can they most effectively work with the kids that
That are in
will remain
their-
behind?
That's
In the
Correct.
small groups
How
that
can
they
you
have
push
bring-
those
right,
kids?
Yes.
right, so,
So, you know, I'm a big color coder, so if we take an advanced opportunity at the beginning of next week to look at the kids and we give them a color-coded card,
Mhm.
that's the table you're going to sit at.
Right.
So Dr. Ford, if she's, whether it's all autism or inclusive of resource kids or general ed kids, she kinda knows what level they're on.
There are 38.
There are 38.
Oh, yes, I remember
Okay.
that.
I know that Robinson Rise
I
at
remember this.
So, and that would be out of our 90, we have 90 third graders.
Right, so we're not inviting all 90 third
Correct.
graders. We're
We're working
inviting
on
these
those ones.
students.
Right,
Yes.
right.
Yes.
And
Okay.
the other concern about this is though, we have to remember that the third
Can I
grade
see?
schedule starts the day with math. And then it goes
We
to
would have
reading
to
at like
vary
9:30. So maybe we need to switch. Maybe we need to do
Okay,
math,
so
reading in the morning.
propose
Like for fourth quarter.
Yeah, just for fourth quarter
invert math and reading block.
in their schedule.
Because they're self-contained, it
Right.
does not
They don't
impact
switch,
anybody
right.
else.
Right, it's just when they,
Okay.
yeah, it's not, it would be an easy fix.
Okay, so we'll have a conversation at team planning next week and then make that effective starting fourth quarter,
Yep, after
April
spring break.
7th.
So,
Well, no, fourth quarter
Starts
starts
April 7th, you're right.
April 7th. So we could talk next week.
Yeah.
That gives us a week for them to prepare
Right,
to flip-flop their schedules instead of teaching math, teaching reading in the morning, and then
And if they
teaching
need help
math in the
organizing, like the
afternoon.
timing for it and that type of stuff, that's one of my strengths. So I can always help them with their schedule.
so
I think that's a
question.
good proposal.
Now, for me, all of my students, for both teachers, are going to be in the group. So, what conversation, right? What conversation are we having with the teachers? Because they're gonna need to come.
Right.
They're gonna need to be the ones who are leading groups as well, because otherwise, who they gonna be with?
They're not gonna be leading groups.
They'll
They're,
be leading
gonna be
watching.
analyzing the data that comes out of their performance on Lexia.
So if we're
And
pulling their
then using the
students,
data.
well, if I'm pulling their students, they're
And
still
we
gonna have
have
students
out
in
of
the
the
classroom.
they will not.
10
All of our
already.
students are gonna be in
Oh,
there.
oh, your group, for
See,
the
from
self-contained.
mine,
Yes, for the
right?
self-contained.
So when I look on that list, all of my babies are on that list. So if we're taking them out and pulling them in, then let's
But
think
that's-
about,
Could that be a good time for us to model how to work with small groups? In these,
yes.
or to use certain strategies and things? Since they're
okay,
both new teachers anyway, that would, you know what I mean, they can come and join the group and see
Okay.
how we do something.
I think that's good. Okay.
So that kind of goes along with that see it, what word, the see
Name
it,
it,
the
see it, name it, do it.
Yeah.
Right. And so, thank you, Ms. Weber.
You're welcome.
Because that is a big part of our
Thank
agenda. We've been doing, the review of the learning data walk. Today is our last day to implement any of our observational feedback for our second or our last learning walk. And Ms. Plumley has sent out that link. And so when we analyze that data, we analyzed it from the last time. And I reviewed it with you, not intensively, so be very transparent. The see it, name it, do it process, which is a coaching process. We identify a gap in learning, if you remember. That's the name it, well, that's the pre-planning.
Yes.
You gotta identify something beforehand, and then you see it, so you take an opportunity. Doesn't have to be formal, you just go visit the classroom. And then, that's what you see, and then you start to formulate feedback, but you name the gap in learning or instruction. And then, what are we gonna do about it? What are we gonna do about it in reference to supporting the teacher? What are we gonna do about it in improving the student performance? And then how we get there. So, if you look at your two handouts, I provided two. One is the second round revisitation that is from the school teacher leader's observation feedback that just describes the process, black and white. But then I did provide copies of my notes where I've been going through this process with a particular teacher. Now, I've excluded that teacher's name, but the process that I've used, the feedback or my see it was, I went through an informal. I was just doing a walkthrough, popping in classrooms. It was a Friday afternoon. And then I saw something and I noticed a huge gap. Like blaring red flags, somebody sent up a signal fire. Right. And I said, okay, my teachers, these two in particular teachers that are co-teaching right now, we're not teaching from the curriculum, not using curriculum materials. So, you know, can I throw them under the bus? I certainly could, but that's not what I wanted to do.
That's right.
I needed to work with them to understand, do they even, and I know it's March, did they know how to access the curriculum?
Well, because both of them are new, right?
Brand new to
Right.
teaching, both conditional teachers.
Conditional.
And so, let me first start by, see it, I named the gap. We're not even using the curriculum materials.
Do you know what subject it was?
It was health.
Okay.
So
Oh, you know
it-
what, that's on the paper.
It wasn't a major subject, but even with a minor subject, I can't have you off
Right.
in
You
winter,
still need to
in
Outside
winter
the
wonderland,
curriculum, right.
teaching something that you want to teach.
Right.
So we named it, and I named the first gap of not using curricular
Right.
materials. Then our do it process, the very next week, I sat down with them, had them, walk them through, can you even access the curriculum? Do you know
Right.
where it is on Clever? Do you know where it is on Canvas? We looked at the lessons. I coordinated with the, teacher who's in charge of the curricular materials, made sure the students within that classroom had them. And then we planned a lesson. And I said, okay, now that, well, the first session was finding the curriculum. The second
Right.
session was planning the lesson. And, you know, this was an autism classroom, and I'm not sure if it even is stated in here, because I try not to,
It is at the top.
it is, okay,
And the
thank you, Dr.
prepare.
Ford.
Yeah.
So, you know, we have to think about how much can our students absorb at one time, and how are we gonna get them involved?
Right.
So we moved from planning to making sure that it was also engaging.
And
So,
appropriate for them.
and appropriate. And so then my follow-up, again, not evaluative. I'm coaching, I'm going through this process. And so this afternoon, I'm gonna go back and observe and see if the planning is implemented and
Right.
it made an impact, because health, this is a health lesson, health is only taught once a week.
Right.
Yes,
And-
you have to make sure that
Yes.
it's impactful.
And it has to be impactful. So, but I've scheduled follow-up visits to make sure we continue with the curriculum and planning lessons. And then we're gonna move into, can we make sure, even though we're a small self-contained classroom, it's differentiated and we're meeting the needs of the students.
Right.
But my first gap in learning was, we're not even using the curriculum.
Right.
So, that's my scenario, and I know many of you have done some informal, observations or learning walk feedback. And we reviewed this before, and I have not tasked you with implementing, but if you think about somebody that you have worked with, can you start relating it to being able to move forward with a coaching process from your leadership perspective to see it, name it, do it. And I know I've worked more closely with Dr. Ingram, being the assistant principal. Unfortunately, she's not here today. Happy birthday, Dr. Ingram! But, has anybody reflected or seen themselves in the capacity along this longevity of see it, name it, do it?
Well, this kind of reminds me a little bit of the 6 steps of effective feedback. So I can see how it's interwoven, and I know I've experienced with that. But just even looking forward, I can see how that, knowing that 3rd grade is gonna be our target grade now. So what I'm gonna see myself doing is focusing on the reading planning. I didn't get to go on our little part moving forward, but I'm gonna just circle it all and put it all together.
Sure.
So, in thinking about what I wanna do, for supporting the 3rd grade team as well as our students, making sure it has an impact on our students, I can see myself doing, seeing the model. Cause I know one of the gaps that we have is definitely in lesson planning. So, if we kind of focus on the lesson planning and just making sure that we're, first of all, using curriculum, and then second of all, having a structured lesson that, encompasses the time. So it's used, so we're doing small groups, we're doing whole group instruction, but only for a brief time, because we know that their attention span is so short. And then being able to name what it is, and then coming in and doing those meaningful coaching observations, where I'm just providing the feedback. I don't know that I'm getting to this video part either, but I do know that I can follow these steps, because it just very closely mirrors the image of what we do
And
with this
after
step.
discussing that, I think I'm halfway of doing precisely, because I think I already talked to a teacher that was her concern about ELD strategies, and I watched her class, and I saw that she was not using all of the ELD strategies. So I can definitely go back and sit with her to have some more discussion about the strategies and model a class, and then let her do the class and discuss it.
And then remember, part of the coaching process, and I know we have a lot of teachers who are conditional teachers, so we are moving from, if you think of that continuum of consulting to coaching, many of our teachers are probably still in that consulting stage. They don't have a lot of background knowledge to bring. They don't have a plethora of teaching experience. They can't pull from the hip and pick out from their bucket. They just don't have it. And so sometimes you can start that, collaborative conversation. But if they don't have it, don't sit there and keep trying to ask another probing
Right.
question.
Right.
You can give them the answer. You need to implement the strategy of building background knowledge and using sentence starters.
Yeah.
And then, even if they didn't come up with it, then that's what you can move forward with supporting them in the coaching process.
Right.
So,
This reminds me that I will be able to implement it from my MSPE, coaching. It reminds me of when I attended our coaching, MSCE literacy, and for the reading specialists that we attend coaching. And there's a coaching cycle template that I've learned, and I've been working towards implementing it. So, and I have done it with 3 of our teachers, and
so
their
it's just
phase
called
one-
something
yes,
different.
their
Okay.
phase 1 is the pre-option, but this is not an informal option, this is not a I got you, this is I'm gonna walk in, I see it, and then 2, I observe it, then I sit with, which is your phase, name it, I identified it, and then I sit with the teacher and we go through a checklist
And do it.
that I follow.
And Ms. Robinson, what's the name of that process again?
This process called the coaching cycle is a sample template for the coaches to use, adapt to engage in the components of a coaching cycle by the Maryland State Department of Education.
Not like a little wheel with a picture.
I would love a copy of that, and that was provided to you.
To me, when we went to, remember they went out and I went to those 2 days of training where they taught us. It's for our, more so impacts the reading leaders who house 3 schools and they go in and they impact the teachers. However, I thought it was an opportunity. I'm in my building, why don't I learn and support my own teachers?
Right,
So that's exactly what I did.
Absolutely.
Can you provide the leadership team?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
Yes, I
Thank
will.
you.
And
And
it's
we can
the
use that
students
to
and
do
the
our
learning.
CA.
But it
Name
follows,
it.
Yes, and it might help us do the see it, name it, do
component.
it, but
It follows
I
this.
think one way or the other, you know, the county has adopted for leaders the see it, name it, do it process, but what we really have to connect with is, as leaders, as members of the leadership, we have to recognize that we have to coach, give guidance, give feedback. And so, whether you're more familiar with the 6 steps of effective feedback or the coaching process you had, or as we continue to learn, and I'm learning too, the see it, name it, do it process, because I've only used it with 3 teachers this year. I'm still getting my feet wet. I'm only up to like thigh high in the water of trying it. You know, I'm not fully there. I'm still
Right.
developing myself.
Right.
But I continue to push you to use at least some method of giving coaching and feedback. And so I want to share some data with you. And some of you are going to be blown away because I'm going to have Dr. Ford read the date on this manual.
All 2004.
This is one of my leadership classes from McDaniel University in fall of 2004. So it says, if we just give knowledge to teachers, we only can increase their capacity of teaching from 5 to 10%. If we model skills through the entire process and demonstrate, we can provide 20% teacher capacity increase. If we provide knowledge, modeling, and a safe environment for them to practice with repetition, with no repercussions, they can increase their capacity in teaching by 40%. If we give and provide feedback in the forms of questions, what we saw, and next steps, as well as teacher reflection, and feed forward for them to get better through coaching, we can teach a teacher's capacity by 80% every single year.
Because of their self-reflection
Yes.
And practice.
and practice.
So as a leadership team, we know every month we do a staff development. We're giving them the knowledge. We do collaborative planning. We have Ms. Robinson who does modeling, Ms. Figueroa who does modeling, Ms. Chamberlain. I think we have to do a little bit better in application and giving them the time to practice, but giving them that feedback and coaching. The coaching does not have to be an extensive process. It could be a 10, 15-minute conversation that embeds coaching. Like Dr. Ford said, she read the handout beforehand. that I gave her the last time. She said, I'm not ready for videotaping yet. I'm not ready for it either, because I'm still building that comfort level for the teacher. And I think sometimes the videotaping causes another stress factor. So, all right, so here is my challenge between this week and next week. I want you to think about one person that you that you're already working with, or have done an informal or classroom visit or co-teaching experience that you can think about using the See It, Name It, Do It. I'll send you a blank template that it just looks like this. And then you can type up, what did you do to plan for the meeting? What did you talk about? What was the See It? What was the Name It? What was the Do It? I'm not looking for a dissertation. We're looking on making an impact on teacher performance. Okay, so some of our other news. Okay, so we have the Age of Learning, which I had the opportunity to meet at one of my principals' meetings, and I had a collaboration with them yesterday, and they will be coming in and offering us with a pilot of their online program. It is a company, Age of Learning. And they are going to be piloting our autism,
Yes.
ELL kids, and 5th grade specifically, to get data between now and the end of April that may influence whether we want this to be a program that we want to purchase. So they do have an online little platform where you can sign in, and I'm going to send it to all teachers so they can at least play with the program. Not that everybody will have access, to see if it's something that we want to use for in-school ELO or at-home support for next year. Given that, our budget is coming March 31st. We get more per pupil for next year, but we don't know how it's gonna equate with how much positions cost. So, once I get it, March 31st, all staff, I'm gonna put out a survey. You guys can give me feedback on the survey before we send it out to staff, as well as parents, what they feel would be most beneficial to Glendale. I think that's it for me. Robinson, new teacher academy or small group meetings?
Our new teacher academy, we focused on Ms. Plumbing's shared differentiation.
Okay.
They gave a handout. We did not have the students, but she basically acted out like a theater's, reader's
So
theater.
she did role
She
play?
did the role play,
Okay.
what it looks like, what it does not look like. She provided our new teachers with some strategies. And with that being said, we talked about how you are still learning how to implement your small groups. We're telling, at least if you cannot do the whole rotation until we get to you, a model and support you with the See It, Do It. I like that model. One, get at least put your students on the Lexia, but now we're going to support the 3rd grade. But we still have our kinder, 1st, and 2nd grade. So that is Lexia Core 5 is our pivotal point that I would love for us to get that wonderful certificate. In our office again, I'm looking for 70%. I told them I'm really working with them. I'm walking around and monitoring them but giving the support. And we talked about, again, accessing the curriculum. It was said that we as teachers who's been in the field for many, many years, we can just take it and learn it. Our new teachers, you cannot just do it one time, you cannot do it second, you cannot do it three, about 20 how many times? 21? 25 times before it becomes something that
Well,
they
and they
can
don't
do.
have like the background, right? Like since they're
No.
conditional, they don't have all of the extra that we got.
The pedagogy.
Right. They
Don't
all of
have the
that.
pedagogy.
Right.
So
And they
we-
don't know where to get the resources.
Correct.
And we tell them it's right here, and then they still looking at you like. So we went back. So we're going a little slow. I know it's getting ready to go into the fourth quarter. However, they will be returning to us next year. We're going to get them. They're coming back better, not still where they are. So we're going to still work with our teachers and accessing the curriculum, interventions, and progress monitoring. How that looks in the small groups.
And I did notice we had increased progress monitoring
Yes,
since our
we
data
did.
since December, so that was good.
Yes.
I haven't run the full reports, but I did look at it.
So that's where we are.
Miss Weber,
Yay, my turn.
your turn.
It's the greatest
Testing
thing
and
of all.
survey.
Testing. It's the greatest thing. Everybody loves testing. Okay, so schedule and activities. We are going to talk about the schedule changes, when we're testing, and all the details to it. The Wednesday we come back from spring break because we're starting testing by April 29th. So because we're doing it then, I didn't want to do like training and going over all that stuff before spring break because I felt like maybe they would forget. So I want to do it when we come back. I put together under our resources the math and ELA schedule for specials and lunch for Glendale because 5th and 3rd grade will end up flipping their times to make it so that we can accommodate all of the.
Longer periods.
Yeah, we just have so many accommodated groups for 3rd grade. Yeah. Then I have the MCAT plan, which I have submitted into MSTE, which shows what time frames, 5th grade will test, 3rd grade, and 4th grade, so that we can see how that's going and who that proctor is going to be in that room. Okay. We have Yojo coming for Pep Rally Assembly April 7th. That's going to be so much fun.
That
My previous school, my kids loved it. So the kids here are going to absolutely love it. It's so much fun. And he does things where like he does test taking strategies and they call it for MCAT. And then they have things where like he's a big, huge, like fuzzy guy, right? And he'll like start to fall asleep. And he's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Wake up, you gotta do your best. And the other guy there. So, and then he's like eating while taking a test. And they're like, you can't eat while you take a test. And it's funny. It's good. And the kids like it.
Okay, good.
We have the tie-dye shirts that we're gonna do. We're asking the kids to bring in a plain white shirt so we can do tie-dye so they can wear that during testing to make it exciting. So she's already purchased that.
I bought the dye.
If the kid is not able to bring a white shirt, if they want to have $5, bring that in, then we can purchase it for them. So
we
we
have
plan on.
some. I do a donation for.
That's right.
I just bring in some large t-shirts.
Yep.
that
And then,
we can
so we're gonna do that the week that we get back from spring break, so April 22nd through the 25th. That way, if they forget their shirt or don't have it that first day, it's okay, we still have a couple more days to go so that everybody can participate.
Okay.
Adopt a classroom, that is something I put on here, so for each of the classrooms, I have the homeroom teacher, how many kids are in there, and then what younger grade level is going to adopt that class. So that they can do something nice, whether it's making a poster, or,
Making little
sending
cards.
little notes or cards or something, coming up with like a little poem that they want to chant out or something like that. That way it kind of gets them excited, right? It has the younger kids being a part of the testing and understanding, hey, this is something that's going on in our building, plus also making the other kids kind of pepped up a little bit. So I have that list on there as well. We are going to provide each of the classrooms that are tested, or each of the groups that are testing, little treats with little notes on it. I think there's like one of the examples is like Smarties, and we have a little tag that goes with it, like, during testing, maybe you get a little Smartie or something like that. So then they get a little treat while they're doing it, either before or after, so they have something to look forward to. So we have something for each day. There's 8 days of testing, so they'll get something different each of those days. Kind of make it something to look forward to. Let's see what else. climate and culture and, organization and, what was the other one? Okay, I'll come back to that. It has to be done by April 11th.
Okay.
So I got most of fifth grade done yesterday. We had 3 absences, and then Mr. Garnai's autism class, we have to do that one. That one, because they have read aloud and small groups and that type of thing, I'm going in with the 2 paras, with the teacher and myself. So that's 4 of us going with the, no, he's got 10 kids. So
10.
at least that way we can have 2 of the kids, and then we can read it to them, make sure they understand, and they can pick their answers.
Okay.
And include Dr. Ford if you need her,
Absolutely.
or if there's a special training for that, yeah.
So, and if there's 54 questions, it's a lot for them to have to come to that at one time. There is a save button, so if we only need them to do half one day and like half when they come back, we can do it that way too, because it'll save their responses.
Okay.
So, but we have till the 11th to get it done.
And
For the
staff,
staff, we're doing it next week for the staff meeting, April 2nd. We're gonna get everybody together during our meeting, let them know, hey, this is something that's important, you need to be honest. It is completely anonymous. I was telling the 5th grade kids yesterday, it's anonymous. No one is gonna know how you answered or who you answered. They said, well, how come my name is on this part? I said, so that I know that you're actually getting it done, and then I take those and I shred them right away so no one ever knows who answered what. And they're like, oh, okay. Same thing with the teachers. I think that's on my side.
Okay, my updates.
all right, Figueroa, WIDA scores.
WIDA scores are
and-
getting May 2nd. So
Okay.
I can access them to the portal. I'm gonna do that. But we also get the color copies for students May 20. So,
Okay.
and of course,
And what are your predictions, Miss Figueroa?
well, my prediction is that we're gonna have probably 12 to 13.
12 kids
Yeah.
exit?
So
Okay.
I hope I hope we get thrilled.
Yeah.
But even though we're gonna still celebrate, we always
That's
do.
right.
Right.
And I don't know if you want to do it like we always do between the building, or invite the parents that the students have medals, because they all receive medals.
I think we should
That's
invite
important.
parents.
Yes, I think we should do it
I
like
thi- I
a
think
more
we
formal
need-
thing
yes.
for them,
Okay.
so they
So
can.
we'll talk about a date for that.
Okay.
Yay! But we finished 100% of WIDA testing.
Yes, we did.
And we finished 100% of MISA.
Yay!
Yeah. That's good.
All right. Miss Chamberlain, articulation.
Oh, we're doing articulation, so I need to,
Okay, and this is articulation for special
preschool
ed,
first,
preschool to,
to here for next year, and then I have only 1 5th grader, because Isaiah's probably being retained,
okay.
Nargis is left, just Corbin.
So will you coordinate with Dr. Ford about articulation for 5th
For
grade?
5th grade, yeah, if you're, the self-contained, yes, and I can
Okay.
be there at that meeting too.
Okay.
But I only have 1, resource 5th grader to
Okay.
be articulated, and I have to call his parents to see where. If he's going
And
to be
when
going
does
to the
articulation start for the primary? or-
There's, I
Have you got a
have
schedule?
the Google
I haven't
form,
received anything
I
yet.
have the Google form, I got it, they talked about it at the meeting on Friday,
Okay.
and I have the Google form to fill out for pre-K. I think we may have to do them both,
Mhm.
may have to do it twice, but it says the gen ed teacher. I have to list the gen ed teacher that will come to articulation. So,
For kindergarten?
yes, coming
And that would be
kindergarten.
Miss Reed.
That's what I thought.
Mhm.
And then, I'll put you as the admin.
Mhm.
Okay. And then we'll get our dates.
Okay.
Now, I usually receive something back now from,
For
either
special
Dr.
ed.
Wright, from Dr.
Do I
Wright
have to be there?
to let us know, but I know that she has been out for some time. So it might just be delayed, but something should be coming regarding the incoming pre-K. Now, you said some,
For autism?
yes,
Okay.
for
What
the,
about our 5th grade articulation going to mostly Kenmore?
right, so.
Because that's usually at the beginning of May too.
One thing I wanted to look at doing this year was reaching out to the school counselor over at Kenmore and seeing if she could do like a Zoom with our parents or something like
And I
that.
think they did last year.
Did they do
Yes,
that?
they did. So
They
they,
had one for, they did
Oh.
a Zoom for everyone,
yes.
For all the fifth
for all
graders?
the incoming autism students.
Mhm.
Right, so that's what I want, just for the
Yes.
autism,
Right.
fifth grade.
Yeah, they
Right.
had that, so.
Yeah,
I'm
so,
not sure if Millette Edwards is still working there, but
Oh, Kenmore?
yeah. But I can reach out to Maurice Wright also. He's one of the assistant principals and ask if he knows.
well, I'll see who their special ed, chairperson is, and then reach out to them. And that way we can make sure. So the other,
I was saying, I already reached out to Thomas Johnson, because we only have Corbin, and Mr. Nero has retired, or he's
Okay.
left. So we will have, I won't be articulating with him.
Okay.
But their sites did reach out already. I gave them Corbin's name, and, so we're gonna I'll get a schedule for her when like if it's one. But I also need, it says, coordinator, so I'll list your name as the coordinator, I'll list my name as the special ed teacher, and it says, additional person email. She asked if she could come, because we have several kids that overlap.
dual, right, so we
So
do have
I'll put
some
her down.
dual.
And then when we get the link, I'll actually share it with Ms. Pusey too.
Okay,
But she just won't go on the list.
okay.
Okay,
And then she can come too, and then we can ask. And, hopefully we'll get all kids discussed in
Right.
articulation this year,
right,
as opposed to 6 last year. And how many we actually have in kindergarten? So,
Yeah,
20.
Perfect.
Yeah.
20,
yeah, I know.
yeah,
Mhm.
so.
Well,
it's
there's 20 in the
ridiculous.
autism program, and then there's an additional 10 resources,
So 30,
30. And we did
you
articulation
articulated for
like
5.
Yeah.
Right,
So,
All right, Dr. Ford, you're the last on the list. Maryland Online is updated audits and ESY.
we
What
saved
do you
the
have to
best
share?
for last. So then, well, there's a new update to Maryland Online that each page now has to be audited. So, Ms. Chamberlain, I asked her to come out a couple weeks. So honestly and truly, we've been kind of taxing this Fed Talk team just from 2:30 to 2 to 2:30 so that they can get these updates. We started last week. Ms. Chamberlain did a wonderful job of presenting the audit and going through with them so that they could see how to close, because it's a new process that wasn't even rolled out. It was just kind of thrown out there. So
there was no
right,
heads up.
no
it was
heads up or
coming.
anything.
No,
we
Here you
just
go, okay.
figure it out.
Yeah, you just noticed it
they-
when you went to close an IP.
Right, throw you in the water and you better swim or drown. So we're gonna swim. So they got it out there, and Ms. Chamberlain came and presented. And then yesterday we actually had another meeting so that Ms. Pusey had an opportunity. She did a really great job of sharing out with the teachers step by step how to do the IEPs, and just making sure that she reiterated what Ms. Chamberlain shared out. Because it's just a tedious process with so many conditional and first-year teachers. We just want to make sure that they have the information they need for case management, coupled with the lesson planning and everything. So just trying to make sure that both sides are covered and that they're prepared to work with our babies. ESY, as you all know, is also coming due. So we're closing out registration. What's that? April the 14th. So April 14th will be the last day for ESY registration. However, it was
However.
down last week.
But they also said at the chairperson's meeting that that's the last official day. But if we have any kids that are identified after the fact, just go ahead up until the end of the school year. Go ahead
And
just
register
put in.
them.
Right.
Yeah, but that's when the site is up. So hopefully it'll continue to be up. And then right after that, the teachers are tasked with compiling the information. So those emails will go out as well. And then the last thing is the end of year. It's almost time to start making sure that our labs are updated. So I'm gonna start giving them heads up on that, just to make sure you got your meeting notices, your meeting sign-in sheets, the IEPs, and PWN. So those type of things that you'll hear it again.
Okay, all right, wonderful. Any other updates? Okay, so as we think about our meeting, very productive. Because we didn't get to meet last week because what, 6 or 7 of our membership team were out in Orlando, Florida at a conference.
Yeah, but.
And we had our wonderful Women's Day.
And we had wonderful
Yes.
Women's Day, so we didn't really
Yes.
have time,
It was
so.
really nice.
I appreciate you being here for the meeting. Our big takeaways are continue to reflect on data. And so I'm glad that, even though you have the PowerPoint presentations with the data, just reading that raw data, and we all identified third grade, and we made a plan, to think about how we can support them in the cafeteria in the morning with at least one session. Miss Robinson, she identified the 38 target students that we're going to be inviting, so it's not all of third grade, it's only a certain group. And so between Dr. Ford, and even if the teachers have to come in there, so that we can help monitor them and give them guidance and coaching, even to implement interventions, that's okay. One thing that I want you to think about is our see it, name it, do it, or coaching process. Ms. Robinson, I know you mentioned another one that you were trained in, but coaching is key. I cannot say enough, when we give teachers feedback and we work with them, not evaluative, but side by side, hip by hip, we can make an influence. So next week, my task for myself is to be able to come and model or role play, or bring that video. Look, I'm trying to build myself up today. But what I would at least ask you to do is to bring your notes from one coaching session.
We sharing
Just
out?
one.
Are we sharing
Yes,
out?
we're gonna share it.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Okay? And so I just want to close by saying positive phrasing. Positive phrasing is a 2-step skill. First, it's mental rather than a verbal step, which is to think. Second, it is to focus on what you want others to know. So as you think about your positive phrasing, you're the expert, but remember, we want to be able to transcribe it into that individual. Okay? And my last piece of statement, look, and this comes from my 2004 we have to think of coaching from a 3 dynamic point. We have to see it, we have to name it, we have to do it. But we have to think about the empathy, the emotions of the individual we're trying to coach. We have to think about their intellect, their pedagogy, and the supports they need. And lastly, we have to give them some pride and approval. We can't just go in with bang, 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 you're doing this wrong. We have to boost them up before they're willing to accept and receive.
What's that
So-
statement, when we talk with our parents, start with the positive.
Start with
What
the
are you
positive.
doing
Look,
right? What are you doing good?
I so appreciate you for being here on time.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with education or instruction, but you have to find a positive.
Good, that's right, find something good.
Even when you had that one negative student, if all you can say, I like how you wore your school uniform today. Whatever it is, we have to find that pride, give them approval, speak and know their emotions, and present with some empathy. That's the softer side of leadership. And then what intellect do they need, and give them that support. So it's a 3-ring component.
Well, I think we should just be grateful they come every day, so I tell them every time, I'm so glad you came back.
Yeah, I'm so happy to see
I'm
you
just glad you
today.
came back.
Right. All right, so We're not gonna have a closing statement, but we're gonna spin our wheel.
All right.
Our first spin of the wheel is for snacks or warm up for next time. Which
Okay.
one?
Snacks.
Okay.
Snacks.
Here we go. The wheel is spinning.
Family.
All right, somebody put that in the notes.
Gotta
She
put
can't
it
deny
down.
it. She's not here.
Got it. All right. Plumley. All right.
Remove her. You to remove her.
Yeah, you gotta remove Plumley.
All right. Well, if she comes up again, then.
Then we'll just.
We'll
remove
just
it.
spin again.
All right.
Oh,
What the card is
The opener.
All right, remember we're focusing on team building and getting to know each other so that we have an opportunity to grow outside of ourselves.
Absolutely.
All right, any closing comments? Are we good?
Yep, thank you.
All right, guys, take your fidgety spinners,
We gotta do
infinity
pluses and
cubes.
deltas.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, pluses and deltas. Please take the next 2 minutes to go in to the agenda and put your pluses and deltas. We want to thank our note taker today.
Thank
Emma.
you. Good job.
Right.